Ever watch someone make a choice so bad you almost feel the secondhand brain damage? These aren't near misses. These are 10 real people who treated danger like a dare, and reality didn't even blink. No slow build, just pure, unfiltered stupidity meeting its finish line. Let's get straight to it. 1. The Exterminator. Tell me you hate spiders without actually saying it. Our story kicks off in a Seattle laundry room, a place of lost socks and questionable fabric softener scents. Our protagonist, let's call him Kevin, spots his nemesis, a tiny 8-legged freeloader chilling by the dryer vent. Now, a normal person might reach for a shoe, a paper towel, or maybe even just sigh and let the spider live its tiny life. But Kevin? Kevin saw this not as a pest control issue, but as a declaration of war. He decided to skip all conventional methods and go straight to the nuclear option. A DIY flamethrower fashioned from a can of spray paint and a Bic lighter. In his mind, this was a moment of pure action hero genius. He crouched, flicked the lighter, and gave the spray can a gentle test puff. A satisfying whoosh, and a brief jet of fire shot out. It felt powerful, heroic even. In that moment, he wasn't just some guy in a laundry room. He was a dragon slayer. With his confidence soaring and his common sense clocking out for the day, he aimed under the washing machine where the spider had scurried. He began painting the air with fiery orange arcs, like a pyromaniac artist signing his masterpiece. The spider, understandably panicked, zigzagged left. Kevin, with the grim determination of a Terminator, followed its every move. There was a faint singe, a crisping sound, and a smell that could only be described as barbecue with deep regrets. Victory? Not quite. Because while Kevin was celebrating his conquest, the laws of thermodynamics were preparing a counterattack. He kept the flame going, just in case the spider had backup. Meanwhile, the aerosol can in his hand was getting uncomfortably warm. The pressurized propellant inside was getting agitated. All around him, years of accumulated lint, nature's perfect kindling, lay waiting in every nook and cranny. The room started to fill with a hazy smoke. He coughed, waved a hand in front of his face, but kept cooking. Then, the can made a soft ping sound, like it was clearing its throat before making an important announcement. Kevin, lost in his victory, fired off one more fiery salvo. That was the last straw. The can went from warm to, oh dear God, in a nanosecond. The ping became a sharp pop, which immediately escalated into a concussive thump as the can exploded. For a brief, brilliant moment, the laundry room hosted a new sun. Plastic storage bins on the shelves sagged like dolly clocks. Detergent jugs melted, weeping neon blue tears. The dryer's flexible vent tube became a silver dragon, spitting fire and superheated gas directly into the wall cavity. Fire loves an easy path, and Kevin had just given it a VIP lane. He snapped out of his stupor and grabbed the sink sprayer, weakly misting the inferno as if it were a delicate orchid. The fire laughed. He threw a damp towel at it. The towel hissed, steamed, and promptly joined the enemy side. The smoke was thick now, black and angry. His eyebrows had officially resigned. He fumbled for his phone, realizing that calling 911 was an idea he should have had about 10 minutes and one explosion ago. Fire crews arrived to find him on the floor, the epicenter of his own failed science experiment, having learned the hard way that when the threat fits under your shoe, you probably shouldn't summon a dragon to kill it. 2. The Bear Grylls. Wannabe. Here's a pop quiz for you, and the fact that anyone gets this wrong is why we have these stories. You see a wild black bear on a trail in North Carolina. Your options are: A. Keep a respectful, safe distance, maybe snap a photo with your zoom lens and feel lucky for the rare sighting. Or B. Sprint towards it for a once-in-a-lifetime selfie because your social media feed is hungry. Our main character, a guy we'll call Brad, slammed the B button like he was trying to win a prize. He immediately flipped his phone to the front-facing camera, grinned with the unearned confidence of a man who thinks wildlife is just a suggestion, and started jogging towards the bear. All around him were signs, literal signs posted by the Park Service, with clear text and pictures saying, "Do not approach wildlife." A park ranger was within shouting distance. Other families were wisely backing away, pulling their kids close. But not Brad. He was in the zone, narrating his own demise for his followers. "Guys, you are not gonna believe this," he said into his phone, completely oblivious. The bear, which had been minding its own business, stood up on its hind legs to get a better look. This was not an invitation for a hug. This was bear speak for, "What is this idiot doing in my personal space?" Brad, a master of misinterpretation, took this as encouragement. He threw up a peace sign for the camera and sidestepped to get the perfect angle, putting the bear right over his shoulder. He was now closer than the length of a Toyota Corolla, deep inside the zone where bad things happen. The bear had seen enough. It dropped back onto all fours, pivoted, and closed the distance faster than any autofocus could keep up. Brad's triumphant grin evaporated. He froze, his brain finally catching up to the situation about 5 seconds too late. Then he turned and ran. It was a valiant, if pathetic, effort. Nature, however, is faster. He tripped on a tree root, because of course there was a tree root, and his phone went sailing into a patch of ferns, dutifully recording a shaky view of the sky. The other tourists screamed. The ranger, now in full emergency mode, clapped and shouted, trying to make himself big and loud to break the bear's charge. It was a short, one-sided negotiation about personal boundaries, and the bear was not interested in mediation. The park staff intervened, managing to distract the animal, which sauntered off with an annoyed swagger, clearly inconvenienced by the whole affair. Brad, however, was not hopping up to brush himself off and post a witty caption. He was down, seriously injured, and about to become the star of an incident report that read like a checklist of every safety rule he had ignored. The lesson here is brutally simple. Wild means wild. A bear is not a prop for your clout-chasing adventure. It's a powerful animal, and the only content you should be creating near one is the content of your own pants if you get too close. 3. The 1-second shortcut. Factories are temples of routine. Every day the same belts hum, the same motors purr, and the same safety posters smile down with a friendly but firm reminder. Lockout, tagout saves lives. Our story takes place in Michigan, where a veteran line worker, we'll call him Jay, had worked the same line for 15 years. He'd seen 1,000 minor jams and hiccups, so when a cardboard carton twisted sideways and jammed the conveyor belt near a protective guard, it was just another Tuesday. The line stopped. The supervisor started pacing, stressed about quotas. And Jay, who hated waiting more than anything, uttered the 7 most dangerous words in any industrial setting. "Don't worry, I'll just be quick." The safety protocol was crystal clear, drilled into him through countless training sessions. Step 1. Kill the power to the machine. Step 2. Lock the power source with your personal padlock. Step 3. Tag it with your name. It's a process that takes, at most, 60 seconds. But 60 seconds felt like an eternity to Jay. The momentum of the workday was a powerful force, whispering in his ear that rules were for rookies, so he made a decision. He reached under the metal guard, intending to just flick the box loose with his hand. His worn work jacket had a slightly loose cuff, a detail that seemed insignificant until that very moment. As his hand touched the box, the automated system, sensing the blockage was almost clear, pulsed the belt forward. It wasn't even a full start, just a micro-adjustment. But it was enough. The cuff of his sleeve caught on a roller. The machine, with its relentless torque, bit down and pulled. Jay yanked back instinctively, but it was like arguing with a tectonic plate. A coworker screamed his name. Another lunged for the big red emergency stop button, slamming it with heroic force. But even with the power cut, physics has its own momentum. The heavy rollers continued to coast for one long, agonizing second that felt like an hour. It was a tug of war where one side was a half-ton of steel and gears, and the other side was Jay. It was never a fair fight. There's no need for gruesome details here, only the cold, unforgiving math of inches, seconds, and one terrible choice. The subsequent investigation would state the obvious: failure to de-energize equipment, guard bypassed, inadequate lockout procedure. The company installed new, more advanced safety systems. But the most important safety system of all, the one between a worker's ears, had been bypassed. The simple, boring truth is that machines don't forgive. They don't recognize just a second. They don't care about your experience or your pride. Every shortcut in a factory is a coin flip where both sides are tails. Jay thought he could steal 60 seconds from the machine. Instead, the machine collected the next 30 years from him. 4. The Camels Complaint. Picture a bright, chaotic Saturday at the zoo. Kids are having meltdowns over ice cream, and parents are navigating strollers with the grim focus of combat pilots. In the camel enclosure, a large dromedary is doing what camels do best: chewing thoughtfully, blinking its long eyelashes, and generally existing like a giant, hairy, opinionated beanbag. Our guy, let's call him Rick, is on a date and has spent the entire morning trying to impress his companion with his supposed way with animals. So far, this incredible talent has involved him misidentifying a capybara as a giant hamster. The fence around the camel yard has a large, clear sign that says, in no uncertain terms, "Do not touch or feed the animals." To Rick, this sign was merely a suggestion. He needed a showstopper for his Instagram story. He handed his phone to his date, leaned confidently over the railing, and decided the peak of comedy would be to pretend to nibble on the camel's shoulder. It wasn't a real bite, more of a pantomime chomp for the camera. The camel, who had been patiently enduring the heat and the crowds, read the room. And the room screamed disrespect. Without any warning, without any aggressive sounds, the camel simply rotated its body, folded its long legs like a well-oiled camping chair, and parked all 1,200 pounds of its weight directly on top of Rick. The crowd let out a collective gasp that was half laughter, half horror. It looked absurd, like a cartoon, until you remembered that a camel weighs more than a grand piano. Rick's legs vanished under the very serious beanbag. His date's expression went from amused to horrified in record time. Handlers came running, clapping, and calling the camel's name, trying to coax it up with offers of hay. The camel was completely unimpressed. It wasn't angry. It wasn't being violent. It was staging a silent, incredibly heavy protest. Seconds stretched into a minute. Rick was making muffled sounds of regret. When the camel finally did decide to stand up, it did so with the slow, deliberate grace of a ship rising from the sand. Paramedics stepped in, because Rick was not bouncing up for a curtain call. He was taken away for medical care he now desperately needed. The lesson here is beautifully simple. Fences aren't decorations. An animal in an enclosure is still a wild animal, not a plush toy for your amusement. And if you feel the urge to act like a cartoon character, just remember that cartoons bounce. You don't. 6. Australia loves two things: beaches and warning signs with big red icons that scream, "Don't." Our guy, Ethan, weekend surfer, full-time dopamine chaser, scrolls a feed full of cyclone clips and decides the weather alert isn't a threat. It's branding. The beach is officially closed. Lifeguard flags are down. The wind is punching sideways like a leaf blower on espresso. His friends are posted on the dune, with phones up and commentary ready. Ethan smirks and says the line that should come with a seatbelt. Algorithms love drama. He zips his suit, tightens his leash, and sprints into a froth that looks like a washing machine with a grudge. The first set slaps him back to shore. He grins wider. He goes again. Out past the shore break, the ocean stops being a playground and becomes a machine. The surface breathes in steep pulses. Rip currents rip. He paddles diagonally like he remembers from a tutorial, but the current moves him sideways like a chess piece he can't control. His friends whoop, their screens shake. A black wall rises on the horizon, taller than the pier lights, and scrolls in like a closing garage door. He turns, commits, and tries to drop in. For half a second he makes it. Board nose points down, knees set. The lip pitches. The whole roof of the wave caves over him with a sound like a bus going past your face. He disappears. The board shoots free, tether buzzing tight, then slack, then tight again. It's a yo-yo with a heartbeat at the end. The next wave doesn't care about narrative. It picks him up and tosses him like luggage. Whitewater fills the world. He reaches for daylight and finds foam. He tries to pull his leash and finds the board acting like a door on a hinge, whacking his legs with every spin. The rip catches him and escorts him toward the jetty, where the storm surge is chewing up wood like popcorn. On the dune, someone says, "Call it." Another says, "Wait." Lightning coughs in the clouds in a spiderweb arc that makes everyone flinch. A lifeguard truck appears, even though the beach is closed, because closed is a suggestion to people like Ethan and a responsibility to people with rescue gear. The guard squints, thinks about going in, then sees the color of the water and the speed of the sets and shakes his head. You do not win roulette against a cyclone, not without a team, a sled, and a plan written by people who like sleeping at night. The next series stands up even taller. It feels personal. It isn't. It's physics. A board pops to the surface 50 yards down, leash trailing like a loose kite string. The friends run with it, screaming his name into wind that steals voices for fun. The phone in one pocket chirps from a waterproof case, still rolling, still believing it's part of something epic. EMS arrives. Sirens are thin, swallowed by the roar. Time moves strange at a beach when a person doesn't come up. It stretches. It snaps. It leaves a mark. The storm keeps cleaning the horizon with the indifference of a giant. Later, by some salty miracle, the ocean tosses the phone onto wet sand like a dare. The clip stops on Ethan's face, grinning at the camera, one hand forming a shaka, the other pointing to a wave that looks like a wall you could park a truck on. Caption draft at the bottom reads, "Cyclone Session." The rest of the draft wrote itself, and not in the way he planned. The official line says, "Entering hazardous surf during a tropical system." The unofficial lesson is louder. The ocean doesn't care about your brand. It does not clap for your courage. It does not negotiate. If the sign says closed, go film a reaction to the weather report from your living room. The algorithm might love drama, but water loves winning. Pick the thing that lets you go home and tell the story yourself. 7. Black Friday. Dawn. The parking lot looks like a tailgate for a sport called bargain ball. Doors open. The crowd spills. People jog like the floor is lava and the prize is a toaster. Our main character, Kendra, spots it from the escalator, a 75-inch monolith basking on the second-floor display like a shrine to excess. A worker yells, "Please use the stairs." Another adds, "Electronics is downstairs." Kendra calculates the math of impatience and decides stairs are for people who like losing. She slips past the line, climbs the balcony rail like it's a jungle gym, and sets her jaw. "I'll beat the rush," she says to no one and everyone. Phones rise. The internet loves a bad choice in progress. Below, stacks of boxed TVs form neat aisles with end caps that are not, as a reminder, trampolines. The drop is one story. Not Grand Canyon, not trivial. Kendra swings a leg, balances on the narrow lip, and eyes a landing zone that looks soft only in her imagination. A security guard sees it unfolding and sprints, palms up, voice calm. "Ma'am, don't." A friend says, "Kendra, come on, just meet us at the bottom." She hears none of it. Sales sirens are loud. She pushes off like a misguided gymnast. Gravity takes the baton. For half a heartbeat, she floats. Then the floor arrives early and with opinions. She doesn't stick anything. The big TV stays where it is, smug as a statue. The crowd winces in a unison oof that echoes off tile. Someone finally says what everyone knows. "Call 911. Staff form a ring to keep the swarm from filming too close. Because of course people are filming. A manager kills the music. The store goes quiet in the weird way places get quiet when the punchline stops being funny. Kendra isn't popping up for a selfie with the trophy. She's still. The emergency team appears fast because malls train for this exact brand of enthusiasm. They do their practiced work, efficient and kind. A shopper tries to step around to grab a discounted soundbar. A worker blocks and says, "We're closed on this side." Priorities are real time now. Upstairs, that balcony rail gets a fresh strip of caution tape and a new sign that reads like a parent's sigh. No climbing. Later, the narrative will be polite. Fall from height during crowded retail event. And the comments will be mean because the internet can't resist. But the core stays the same. She traded stairs for air. She traded 2 minutes for forever. The TV didn't move an inch. That's the quiet punchline. Objects wait. Floors do what floors do. Human bodies are not designed for stupid. If you want to beat the rush, set an alarm earlier. If you want a TV, wait for next Tuesday. If you want to live, use the stairs and your sense. And if a stranger in a blue vest with a name tag says don't, that's not a sales pitch. That's a gift. 8. The Amalfi Coast is so pretty it breaks people's decision-making. Cliffs, lemon trees, water the color of new glass. Nina, an amateur painter with a good eye and a bad habit, sets up her easel on a pull-off where the road turns and the sea throws down its best blue. She pins her canvas, she mixes paint. The light is a show. She wants to catch it, all of it, even the part that refuses to be caught. A small sign nearby says, what signs always say on cliffs? Stay back. Edges crumble. Gusts happen. She's focused. Focus is good for art and rude to caution. Nina steps back to widen the view. She squints at the horizon, pops a new brush, and steps again. Her heel kisses gravel that was a path until last winter's rain sent half of it into the bay. She regains balance, laughs at herself, resets. A tour group huffs past in bright hats and good intentions. One person says, bellissimo, at her work, which is the correct word. Nina smiles and steps back 3 inches more to see if her mountains need more violet. The wind freshens. It comes around the curve with the force of a whisper from a giant. Her hat lifts, she snatches it, and everything shifts by a degree that matters. The cliff doesn't crumble in a Hollywood way, it just ends where she thinks it doesn't. Her foot finds air. Momentum does the rest. The easel clatters, then follows. The canvas tilts, then commits. The sound is not loud. It's small and wrong. People shout. 2 run forward and then stop because forward is less path and more poetry. A call goes out. Sirens in towns like this are fast and distant at the same time. A rescue team appears with ropes and helmets and the calm of people who live with gravity as a neighbor. They anchor, descend, search the ledges, and do what can be done when the math is against you. There is no gore here, only the firm line between almost and too far. Later, the canvas is found tangled in scrub away down, the sky on it half finished. The brushstroke that would have blended the light into the water forever paused after 1 second that changed everything. The statement from the local authorities is gentle. Please respect barriers and signage along coastal cliffs. The artists in town light candles in a small church that smells like lemons and old wood. Her friends tell stories about her laugh that sounded like shared dessert. The lesson is not, don't make art. It's don't back up on edges while trying to capture a horizon that doesn't care. You can step closer to the painting. You can move the easel. You can return tomorrow when the light is new again. Perspective is free. Distance is not. Edges don't negotiate just because your colors are perfect. If the view is breathtaking, breathe. Then step forward toward the canvas, not back toward the end. 9. Summer in the Alps looks safe until you know where the cracks are. Lars, a German hiker with sturdy boots and a wobbly filter for risk, takes a trail that threads below a glacier. There are signs with diagrams of falling ice and arrows pointing to safer routes. He reads them like fine print on an app and clicks Accept. Ahead, a blue-white overhang juts out like a frozen awning. Meltwater drips in steady ticks. It looks solid. It is not. He pictures a sick selfie under it. The kind where you look tiny and victorious under something that could flatten a rental car. He sets his phone on a rock, timer on 10 seconds, and jogs into the shadow with both arms up like he just won a race he didn't run. The air under a serac is 10 degrees colder and filled with little cracks that are not sound, but you hear them anyway. 2 hikers yell from the trail, "Nick Durunter!" He grins and points at the phone like, "One more." The glacier answers with a groan that sounds like a door in a haunted house, then a pop like a champagne cork, then nothing for half a breath. The slab lets go, not in a dramatic avalanche, but in a crisp drop like a trapdoor in an old theater. There is no time for a second pose. The camera catches the blur of white, a smear of blue, and a frame of sky tilted wrong. Silence afterward is not peaceful. It is practical. People run, feet slip. A dog barks once and then goes quiet. A guide who knows this route too well radios it in with coordinates and a sigh you can feel across languages. Rescue teams respond. Helmets, probes, stretchers. They move with method. They always do. The official write-up will say, "Icefall incident in a restricted zone." Locals will shake their heads and point again at the signs they begged the park to install after the last near miss. The mountain isn't mean. It's busy, it's melting in parts and reforming in others and breaking in ways that don't line up with your calendar. Seracs look like sculptures. They are not. They are pauses. If you're lucky, they pause while you pass. If you step under them for a photo, you're gambling with a machine that doesn't know your hand. Call it vanity. Call it optimism. Call it the urge to be small near something big and pretend the bigness is your own. Whatever it is, it's not worth it. You want a win pick? Step 2 meters back, stand in the sun, live long enough to show bored nephews in December. Mountains have been here longer than our angles. Respect the ugly signs. Stay where the guides stay. Let the ice hang alone without applause. You don't have to be under the roof to be impressed by the house. 10. The phrase, "catch a bullet in your teeth" belongs in a vault labeled movie nonsense. Bruno in Brazil decides the vault is optional. He loves stage magic videos. He loves applause even more. At a backyard party with a karaoke speaker and a borrowed spotlight, he announces a legendary illusion. People cheer because people always cheer before they know what they're cheering. A friend lifts a phone. Another friend says, "Dude, no." Bruno smiles and shows a gleam of mouthguard plastic like it's proof of invincibility. Here's the thing the pros won't stop telling you. They do not do this for real. They fake it with engineering, misdirection, blanks, and a safety net made of lawyers and physics degrees. Bruno's safety plan is confidence and a YouTube comment thread. The music cuts. He spreads his arms. He explains that it's all about timing, which is the kind of phrase that should only be used about comedy and soufflés. Someone produces a handgun that should have stayed wherever it was legally supposed to be. No specifics here, because we are not teaching anything except common sense. He puffs his chest. He says, "Watch this." The party leans forward, which is a thing parties do when disaster is about to send an RSVP. The count hits 3. The world does what it does when metal, chemistry, and ego collide for keeps. There is no clean reveal. There is no sly wink. There is only the ugly speed of real life, which outruns confidence every time. Friends freeze, then shatter into motion. Shouts stack. Someone knocks over a drink and cries without noticing. 911 is dialed. Sirens rewrite the soundtrack. Paramedics arrive and switch the mood from chaos to order with their practiced authority. They try. They do the work that makes them heroes. Later, the headline is simple and brutal. Attempted stunt ends in fatality. The details are thinner than gossip because dignity matters. The post from local officials is blunt on purpose. Do not attempt dangerous tricks, ever. Magicians have unions for a reason. They also have vaults of secrets and redundancies you can't see. Real rounds are not props. Teeth are not tool steel. Mouthguards are not miracle armor. If the trick looks impossible, that's because it is, and the whole art is making you think it isn't. Bruno wanted to bend reality. Reality didn't bend. It never does. You want applause? Learn a card force, levitate with fishing line in your living room. Make the coin vanish behind your niece's ear and give her the coin after. Leave the bullets to history books and special effects teams. We tell these stories not to dunk on people, but because warnings with no names are easy to ignore. Here is the name. Here is the warning. Illusions are safe when they are illusions. The second you make them real, the show ends, and not with a bow. So, which one broke your faith in human judgment the most? If you had to replace them in one of these stories, which fate would you risk and why? Drop it in the comments. I'll be reading the worst answers first. Like, subscribe, and let's keep the Darwin Awards in videos, not in your obituary.